I just think all three phases played together, one heartbeat. I love the energy and the passion that we played with. You could see it. I sat here a week ago. I said the sideline was going to be important. I thought the sideline was into it. I think the crowd got us rolling too. I think the blackout helped. I liked the whole thing. I liked the way Valley Children's Stadium was. The whole thing was a good night for us. We were one heartbeat, and I think it was a good day for the Valley. I really do, and getting that Valley trophy back. So covered pretty much the game, but I think some of the intangible stuff that you don't really think about was there at a very high level, and it helped us on the field. And like I always say, execution fuels emotion, and that got a lot of energy in the stadium.
Seems like the last two games haven't noticed many injuries. Is there any updates on that front or anyone you might get back soon?
No real injuries. Didn't lose anybody per se right now. You know, sometimes you get surprised on Tuesday when we actually have to start running again, and some guys can't. But right now, I think it's going to be pretty consistent. I don't think we'll get anybody back. I know Spalmer's been fighting and practicing lately, so we'll see where that is. But I can't declare anything right now with that.
We asked you a lot of questions about the rivalry last week, a lot of similar parallels this week with Hawaii. Can you share a bit about your history with them and what stands out about this match?
Yeah, always a battle with Hawaii. It's always going to be that way. Some good games throughout the series playing them. They're kind of structured like we are as far as coaching staff. They have a lot of alumni on their staff. We have a lot on our staff, so we're all pretty familiar with the game. Timmy Chang, their head coach, does a great job. He's a really good player, too. I remember that. He could throw it all over the yard. So you could see that with their team. They're throwing it at a good high level, very efficient, a lot of completions. So they're working it that way. And then on defense, a lot of disruptions. They're going to give you a lot of different looks. They change it up. They're going to change their fronts. They're going to press you. They're going to drop guys. Like, you're going to see it all. They're going to give you the kitchen sink. So we're going to need to really be on our stuff, be on our game, and be ready to play.
How's it going, Coach?
All right, got
great,
the beanie on.
Yeah, great victory, yeah. I just got to say, Cam Lockridge, what do you say to a player like that and a performance like that?
Keep doing it. I mean, he's a ball hawk. I mean, that's what he is. He has a nose for the ball, does a great job of getting his eyes to the quarterback, and then he can track the ball better than anybody else. Sometimes the routes are going deep, and he sees the quarterback's looking low, so he stays down low, and he's getting these picks where nobody's around. So he's a great player. Lot of instincts, just a lot of instincts. He has that move on to the next play corner mentality. He has that for sure. So just love having him here, and it's been a joy to see his journey.
Sure. And after a victory like that, right now, what's the vibe, the energy like in the locker room and the coach's room?
Yeah, we're pretty much 1-0. Like I said before, we're in conference playoffs. We have to treat each week as just win that week and just be 1-0. That's how we are. Obviously, after you win, the morale's pretty high and pretty good. We have high morale. We want a lot of energy and juice, and it's Monday, and tomorrow will be Tuesday, and we have to have a good Tuesday. It's Dirty Tuesday.
No, for sure. And against the Spartans, sellout crowd, all the hype around it, the blackout jerseys, Ron Cox and everything else. You guys got Hawaii at home again this week. Do you think the red wave and another sellout crowd could bring a lot of enthusiasm to the team come Saturday?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I tell you, we feel that. When everybody's wearing red, when it's a red day and all that, we see it, we feel it. That opening kickoff and everybody standing up, all that stuff is part of the game. So just keep selling that thing out, keep bringing the energy, be loud, and let's go.
Morning, Coach. Your last year, I believe, was Chang's freshman year. So would you guys have played against each other?
I played against Rolo. So okay. He came right when I left.
Okay. And then when you spoke about Cam, I mean, now he's going against his former team. Does that add any more fire to him that, I mean, obviously he already has?
Yeah, and he's already played against him, so I think some of that is already out of his system. But I know he's on a mission just to play his best ball every single game. So I think that'll be his focus, just to keep getting better and keep trying to make plays.
You were obviously here when the team was 1-4 and then went on that win streak, and there was definitely an energy change. Did you feel anything similar to that on Saturday?
You try not to compare the years too much, but definitely as I'm sitting here thinking about it, there's definitely a little bit of that. We were pretty decimated with injuries, and you're losing your starting quarterback in that 1-4 thing, and then to get him back and to get rolling was a really good feeling. For us right now, we're just treating it as just each week just be 1-0. That's kind of our mentality, and obviously as you keep getting some wins, you start feeling better and better. So hopefully we can continue to do that.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Tedford had this saying, the games in November are the ones you remember. Are the guys excited to play meaningful football in the month of November?
Definitely. You know, that's kind of a Fresno State thing. You always hear that. Coach Sweeney would say it. Coach Tedford say it. So it's been carried down and carried through because you're in conference time. All these games matter. You know, everybody's looking at your rankings and all that and where you are. So, and then it's the end of the season. So everybody's kind of beat up, and the tough guys got to fight through it here. So definitely, we are excited to get going. We know we have 4 games left, and we're just taking a 1-week approach, 1-game approach, and we just keep on moving forward that way.
And your thoughts on how the conference looks so far this year? Boise State has Ashton Denty, and UNLV is also playing pretty well.
Really good ball. I mean, you better bring it every single week. That's our conference. There's no gimme games at all. So you have to prepare to win, and then on game day you better play to win. So that's basically where it is right now, but very competitive from top to bottom.
Cam Lockridge is obviously a fun personality. Do you ever have to talk with him a little bit? You know, maybe sometimes in the public settings. I mean, I'm just curious, how does the coaching staff handle him when it comes to his bravado and just his confidence?
That's a great question. That could go in a million different ways. Cam is definitely an interesting dude. First off, he's from Florida, so you got to understand what he's saying to you first off. He talks a little different, uses different words, you know, so you have to talk to him and really concentrate on that side of things. But he's a joy when you really get to know him. When you really get to know him, he'll smile and laugh. I think he's kind of one of those guys that kind of wants to give you a false read on him and then see how you treat it and then switch it up on you. So, but he's great. I enjoy talking to him. He's a piece of work. He's funny. But I'm glad he's on our team.
Coach, we've heard you talk about it before as far as the fan base. They're great, right? But they still are a little late arriving, right? I mean, I know we've kind of harped on it, but just what would it mean to have that place packed for kickoff?
Yeah, and we have the happy hour going and all that. We decreased some prices on some things. I won't say what things, but definitely we're trying to get people in the stadium earlier, you know. And you can see everybody's outside the stadium tailgating, having fun. Maybe we need to start tailgating a little bit earlier, and then we'll get in the stadium a little bit earlier. But we definitely feel that when the crowd's in the stadium. I'm telling you right now, it matters. It pays off for us. So the earlier we can get in there, the better for the team.
And just curious, I know you kind of touched on it earlier, so I don't know if you can have anything to add on him, but is Malik progressing? Is there any chance we could see him in this week or the next? Or?
He's a long-term injury guy. We're going to let that thing totally heal because it hasn't healed since training camp. So until that thing gets all the way where he feels like he's totally 100%, not 90, totally 100, we're not going to mess with it. So we always get updates on Tuesdays to see where he's at, and right now he's still out.
Congratulations, Coach. The energy was awesome. I looked at the scoreboard, and in the third quarter, it was -7 yards rushing for San Jose State. Does the defense and offense play off each other? You know, they feed off each other. When you see the defense playing like that and the offense is, moving the ball and all that stuff, they feed each other on that?
Oh, definitely. I think, like I always say, we want to be one heartbeat, right? So we all want to be clicking at the same time. And when we're all clicking at the same time, that's when good things are going to happen. So we are definitely, emphasis for us is winning in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line for us. We want to win up front. We want to be very physical. So it all starts there. Once you get that accomplished, then you make people one-dimensional. That's what we want to do. And, in that game, you saw us. We had San Jose's different styles, right? They were throwing it all over the yard, but then they had some explosive runs in previous games. So we still wanted to limit those explosive runs, and then we wanted to make them one-dimensional and throw it and be able to disguise and change coverages and things like that, and we were able to do that.
Will the black jerseys make another appearance in Bulldog Stadium soon?
Great question. To be. I don't want to say determined. To be discussed. Let's go that way. We'll see.
Coach, how much support, encouragement, motivation, inspiration do you think your team got from the alumni that checked in this last week? Ron Cox and others. Half your coaching staff is alumni too.
Yeah.
But did you feel that juice from the alums before homecoming?
Definitely. I think two things. I think Ron Cox talked to the team the night before, which was awesome. It was great. He was ready to play. He stood right up on top of that table right there, and we sang Bulldog Spirit right in here the night before the game. And then when we walked down the tunnel to enter the field for the game, all the alumni, not just football, but all the sports, there was alumni out there, and the team ran through them, and they had juice. They were energized. I saw people jumping up, even if they can't play anymore. But I think those two things were big for us. It kicked off the game, and then it continued throughout the game.
I think Ron still could play. In fact, at halftime, he said he could get you 10 sacks in the second half if you needed them.
It's crazy as I believe him.
Right? Did you check the nuts and bolts on that table afterwards?
It's still there, still upright.
Hey, this opponent, Hawaii, have some momentum coming in too, and Shager ran for 120 yards this last week. How would you describe the challenge your team has against a veteran quarterback who's showing a bigger repertoire now?
Definitely. Good player. He can run it. He can throw it. He's real smart with the ball, makes good decisions and things like that. He's his completions, man, he's got a high completion rate. So we're going to have to definitely try to get some way to frustrate him, take him out of his game a little bit, make him think about us a little bit more and that sort of stuff. But definitely going to be a challenge, one we have to look forward to and be ready to go.
How's it going, Coach?
All right, how you doing?
Good. You mentioned the playoff mentality with this group. What has changed in the building over the last couple of weeks in your mind since you've made that declaration of it being playoff football this time of year?
I think my number one job is to make sure everybody has energy and juice. I really believe that. I think a little too much goes into scheme and all that stuff. It's all about want to. And if you want to win, give yourself a chance. When you go into it kind of not enjoying the grind, that's when you have problems. So you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable type of thing, and you have to enjoy it. So I think people are enjoying what they're doing, and we're having fun, and it's good to see.
You mentioned every game's got its own story, right? With the season, Hawaii, they're coming off of that big win. What do you think? Where do you think this game's going to be won in this sense with the Hawaii and what you've looked at the tape and how the story of the game could unfold on Saturday?
Definitely. It always will start up front, and we're always going to have to be physical and win in the trenches. That'll be every single game, all the time. On offense, we got to have to protect the ball. On defense, we got to keep on taking it back. And then we just have to capitalize on that, right? We were really good on third down on both sides of the ball last week. We have to continue that. So I also think being here at home is going to be huge. I think having the crowd behind us is going to be huge, and I'm just excited and ready to go. I just want to get back out there and play another game. All right, thank you.
Good luck next game, Coach. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Morning.
Coach Goyle, it was a minute in when it was down 7-0. Arguably, the touchdown could have been reviewed. Who knows? But from then on, lights out defense for the most part. So to battle out of that first drive, how would you say the defensive effort was on Saturday?
Well, I thought the effort was solid all night long. We had a couple of individual errors and breakdowns on the first drive, but I was confident that we just settle down and play our defense, we'd be fine. And I was really impressed with the way our guys just stayed after it. We did a really good job of mixing things up, keeping them off balance. Our guys were well prepared in terms of knowing what our plan was and executing it. And we had some big third down stops. I thought we played good against the run for the most part. They hit a couple of runs. Some of them were in 2-minute situations where we were more geared towards stopping the pass, but we still can't let them break out like that. And then they had a long run late in the game. But I thought we were in control the entire game other than the first drive.
Felt like on a couple of those picks, they were a little confused on what you guys were showing. Talk about the disguises and how, they threw the ball to you guys better than they threw it to the other guys sometimes on those two picks. So just disguising the defense is what was working there.
Yeah, our guys worked hard at that. We felt it was going to be an important aspect of what we were doing defensively in this game, whether it was just pre-snap disguises, moving to coverages late, sometimes showing blitzes and not coming, sometimes showing blitzes and coming. There's a lot involved with that, but it was productive for us. I think they had a little miscommunication, certainly on Cam's first interception, I believe it was, where the receiver ran a stutter and go, and the quarterback threw it as if he was stopping. But AZ made a great break on the ball on his. Hitman Julian Neal made a big play in the end zone there on the overthrown ball that I wish he would have stayed in the end zone, but he got a little overzealous and thinking he was going to go 108 yards, I think. But, we gave him a lot of flack about that yesterday. But, there were big plays. And then Cam made a really nice pick on the last one, thrown down the boundary there. He just went up and got it. So, I thought we generated some good pressure. I think the quarterbacks were not comfortable as they had been. We saw those guys, just shred people throwing the football throughout the season. And, I think our guys stepped up to the challenge.
Coach, you've coached secondary in the NFL, and you've got the perspective of programs to prepare guys for that level. Was Saturday one of those tapes you dial up to reinforce J.D. Williams' credentials for developing NFL talent in the secondary?
There's no doubt. I mean, J.D. does a great job. I wish J.D. could still line up for us, and because he wouldn't make some of the mistakes that the other guys make. But no, he's he doesn't get enough credit for the way those guys play. And they respect him. They know he's been there. He's done that. And, I think our group as a whole is starting to gel together. We've had some young guys. We've had to make some changes in the secondary throughout the season with some guys getting banged up. But there's a confidence that's starting to grow, and hopefully that'll translate into continued big plays as we continue down here against some really good passing teams.
And is that connected to the increased aggressiveness we see? Does that give you more trust to call more blitzes, or is that just a product of the matchups you've had?
Generally, it's a product of the matchups, and at times, as a play caller, you go into the game with a preconceived plan that if it goes according to plan, how much you want to blitz or how effective some of the pressures can be, and I knew pretty quickly into the game that we were going to be able to pressure them and get home with some of the pressures. Sometimes you can blitz and not get home, or you get home and the ball's still getting out. We felt that we had some things that we had not shown that we thought could be problematic for them, and then there were other things that are kind of like our staples that we use and have in the game plan each week. So it's fun when you can mix the coverages that we have, because we have a lot of them. We have a real variety of coverage, especially on third down. And we have a variety of pressures. And when we can kind of get them going in conjunction with each other, I think it poses some real problems.
Coach, I thought it was interesting on the TV postgame show, Champ Bailey was talking about Cam Lockridge, and he was talking about him as, when the ball's thrown, when the play begins, he almost thinks of himself as the receiver, in his opinion. That how special is that when a quarterback, like he's got his eyes on the ball. He's not, necessarily thinking about just deflecting it. He wants to get his hands on the football.
Yeah. Well, that's what the great players, that's the mindset that they should have, and Cam certainly does have. There's a fine line between becoming too much eyes in the backfield, trying to make a play, and enough to give you the opportunity to get the kind of jump you need in order to get your hands on the ball. These quarterbacks nowadays, they don't throw a lot of interceptions. When you look around the country, the number of interceptions over the years, even though the number of passes has increased quite a bit. The interception rates have gone down because they're a lot safer throws. And when you can get a lead and you're forcing teams to throw the football down the field, then that's when you're apt to have some opportunities like we did the other night. So, but Cam, he has a knack for making plays. And one thing we said to the entire group the night before the game, we just got to catch the ones they throw to us. Oftentimes, you watch teams and ball's in the DB's hands and they drop it. And, then they get to punt or they get another down and they get a first down. Our guys caught every ball that we had opportunity. I think there might have been one. We tipped a few, but they weren't easy catches. The ones that we got our hands on and had legitimate opportunities, we made.
Were there some unsung heroes? I mean, one guy that stood out to me, I think, was Jakari Embry from this game. Looked like you guys had a game plan to kind of put him on Nash, press him at the line of scrimmage. Can you talk a little bit about his play in that game? Maybe somebody else that we didn't notice who played really well.
Well, Jakari, outside of the first drive, did a really good job. Competed his tail off, made some plays. He's a very confident player, plays with a lot of enthusiasm. He's tough. His role will continue to grow, especially against these teams that come out with 4 wide receivers and that type of thing. But I thought our guys, AZ had a exceptional game. He was our defensive player of the game. He had a sack, fumble early in the game. He had the pick. He had numerous PBUs. He played really, really solid. But I'm trying to think. Our defensive line is still playing at a very, very high level. Those guys, just stopping the run, and we harassed the quarterback even though we didn't hit him. Didn't sack him as often as we would have liked. I thought our edge guys. I thought Corey Foreman had his best night rushing the passer. May not show up in the stats, but he was around the quarterback. He was affecting the throws. Devo was, just playing lights out. So, another unsung hero that now that you mention it, Jason Jacks is really stepped up his game. So those guys, I keep mentioning those guys up front. Kavika on Cam's interception literally blocked the running back for almost 30 yards. He hit him on about the 30-yard line and drove him to about the 2-yard line. Still, if you go back and watch that play, if you can see the all 22 copy or whatever they call it, but it was unbelievable. So there were guys across the board that stepped up. Malachi, another solid game, just coming through when you need them. Guys in the back end, I was pleased with. Dean had a really good game. I can't think of any group. I talked to the entire group, and my message to them yesterday was every group impacted the game in a positive way, but every group, when you really look at the film with a fine-tooth comb, made errors that we can't afford to make. And some of them showed up and some of them didn't. So we got a lot of stuff to clean up, getting ready for this team, but they're eager to do that. They hear the message, and hopefully we'll get that done.
It seems like we've kind of been asking you this question every week with each Mountain West opponent, or some of them at least, because there are chances this may be the last time, Fresno State plays Hawaii as a conference opponent for the time being. Are there any memories from this matchup or this showdown that stand out to you, and what is the character of this matchup?
We played them, back in 2022, I believe, right? We didn't play them last year, and we had a good game against them. And the history has kind of been back and forth, as you guys know, where when we've gone over there, it's always been a battle. And a lot of times we came up on the short end. I remember back when I was here previously, we were 2-2 against Hawaii. We lost over there on the island. One game was a double or triple overtime game. And one game they kind of just got after us, and we didn't play well. That was my first year. when they came over here, we had some great success against them. So it's always a battle. They've got good players. I think the players see it as a rivalry game on both sides. It's a very physical. They've always had good special teams that have made plays. It's a tough matchup. They throw the football effectively with a veteran quarterback. It's I think it'll be a lot like getting ready for last week. We have to be really on point to slow these guys down.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
It's the second time you're scheming against Braden Shager, third time he's facing Fresno State. And to face a quarterback that experienced, what are some of the challenges in preparing for him?
Well, trying to keep them off balance like we were able to do the other night. They're a system offense that runs a lot of their plays are predicated on what you're giving them. From a route standpoint, they break off their routes, they adjust their routes quite a bit based on coverages. So trying to give them looks that they're maybe not sure of, and then being able to match up, when we have to play man-to-man and cover their receivers and mix in the pressure with coverage. It's kind of a chess game that we'll be playing throughout the game. If you make a mistake, they can make you pay. But this is a team that is gonna. They had a good night running the football the other night, but historically they've relied on the pass, and we got to do a good job of slowing down the run, and then making opportunistic plays against the pass.
It's been talked about earlier how J.D. Williams develops NFL talent. What do you see in Cam Lockridge, from your experience coaching in the NFL, that shows you that he is an NFL cornerback in the future?
Well, to play in the NFL, you got to have exceptional physical tools. He has speed, he has quickness, he has length. Those are all positives, but he's got the confidence to compete, loves the challenge of competing. If a bad play happens, like most corners that are good players, they just put it behind them, and he's had to do that at times during his career. So he's got a lot of NFL traits, and it's not an easy position to play. It's probably the hardest position outside of quarterback in the NFL to play, going against the wide receivers that you have to face. But talented guy, and we had a talented guy last year, Carlton Johnson, that was very close to getting an opportunity with Seattle, but didn't make the practice squad. I still think he should surface somewhere because he's very similar in that he's got those kind of traits. Just needs some more developing, and we'll see what happens. But when you get in those NFL camps, it's every man for himself, because you're out there trying to take somebody else's job. There's already a full allotment, a full cast of characters that you have to contend with.
Coach, all your years in the NFL, is there anybody that Cam Lockridge reminds you of? Whether you coached against them or coached them.
That's a tough question. I don't like to really make comparisons like that very often. I just know that he has the traits to play in the league. Now, I've been around guys over the years that have had traits, and when for one reason or other it hasn't worked out. There's such a fine line between the guys that make it and the guys that don't, and the guys that get the chance to be on a practice squad and then continue to prove that they're good enough and get an opportunity. So much of it is timing. So much of it is the situation that they find themselves in with the team that drafts them or they sign with as a free agent. A lot of factors go into it. There's a lot of guys that aren't playing that have enough talent to play. But usually the guys that do make it, they either stick it out, or they won't last long either because they'll eventually they'll have to replace them. So I think it's yet to be seen, but productivity is the big concern. You don't want to give up any plays, but you want to see guys that make plays on the ball. And Cam certainly does that. I think he's got 5 picks this year right now, and that's probably up there pretty high in the country right now, and people notice that.
How's it going, Coach?
Good.
Great victory. Speaking of Cam's NFL prospects, have you talked to any NFL scouts when they evaluate Cam and his ability to go to the NFL? And when they ask you about your evaluation of him as a player and as a person, what do you usually tell them?
Well, that's kind of confidential information, to be quite honest with you. But we have NFL scouts here almost every day at practice. And we've had a lot of guys from all the teams come through. And they not only ask about Cam, but, we have a number of guys that are worthy of NFL consideration. And you can kind of give them the insight into if you feel a guy has the physical traits to play, the mental traits, the makeup mentally to compete at that level. And so certainly we share our best information. And it's important to me, having been in the league, that you give an honest assessment of guys so that they trust your evaluation. And, when I tell somebody that I think Cam has all the traits to make it in the league, I think they believe it. And then they do their own due diligence in terms of, all the other factors that go into putting together a profile on a player that you might be considering. So, but we have, Cam is one guy, but we have others that I think will have chances to play after this season.
Definitely. And with the performance like Cam did on Saturday, 2 interceptions and everything, from a coach's perspective, how proud of you are you as a coach, knowing that, he's playing the way how he is and just, everything else? How proud are you of his,
Well, I'm certainly very proud of Cam, but really proud of the entire group because, to hold a good team like that to 10 points, that's a credit to the entire group. They all stepped up. We played a lot of guys once again. We got a lot of guys in the game. We have different guys stepping up, making plays throughout the game. So, you're proud for 24 hours, and then you're back onto Hawaii trying to figure them out and come up with a plan that you think will give our guys the best opportunity to succeed again. Because, we need every one of these games as we work our way down the stretch.
Speaking of figuring them out, what has stood out to you about Hawaii that the defense is really going to need to key on for Saturday's game?
Well, we can't let them run the football like they were able to last week against Nevada. That was kind of, I actually, woke up Sunday and went right to my phone to see what the stats of the game were, and I saw it rushing 240 yards. I thought it was a misprint at first. And but then we studied it, and we saw how they were able to run the football, both with some designed quarterback runs, with some scrambles, with some quarterback draws. Their running backs did a good job running the football. This is a really good screen team as well. So, we have got to take it one step at a time. We'll work hard tomorrow, introducing the major concepts. Like I said earlier, this is a team that doesn't feature a tight end in the offense very, very much at all. So they're in what we call 10 personnel most of the time, which is 4 wide receivers, and they're wide, opened up formations for the most part, and they try to stretch in, have you have to show your coverages based on how wide they are, and that type of thing. So we got to do a lot of things like we did last week, but only do them better than what we did last week if we want to play the kind of game we want to have.
Coach, I believe your previous stint crossed over with when June Jones got to Hawaii. Do you have recollection of what you remember about the run and shoot the first time you saw it?
Very much so. June Jones, Coach Jones, is he's one of the godfathers of the run and shoot. Mouse Davis, June Jones, those guys. And as a matter of fact, when I was at Holy Cross years ago, we ran the run and shoot on offense, and we were leading the country and passing and doing all the things. So I got to be firsthand, and I sat in on the meetings when we went to install it as an offense. When we had Mouse Davis actually come to Holy Cross and spend a couple of days with us, those were great meetings, just listening to him. And shoot, as a defensive coach, you might as well just put your hands up because there ain't no way you were going to stop it because, like I said last week, they had the chalk last, and they were going to have an answer for anything you tried to do. This offense is similar, not quite the same, but June really did a great job when he was at Hawaii, and having to defend that. It brought me back thinking about these guys to some of the things we used to do against schemes like this. So we may have to dust off a few things that we haven't used in a while. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge. That's why their numbers have always been very, very big, particularly throwing the ball and that type of thing. So we'll have to be at our best.
Are there some evolutions you see from the scheme, and have defenses also changed since?
Yeah, we're just, going to get into it this afternoon. The run game's a little bit different than what it used to be. They still throw the screens. They have the inside screens to the running back, which are oftentimes come off of a roll action where they get you thinking they're starting a semi-roll, and then they'll just shovel it underneath. And those are like draw plays. They're like running plays. They do all that type of stuff. The perimeter screen game is also a factor in what they do. But like I said, the route concepts are so flexible based on coverage. If you're in 2 deep, they're going to run this route. If you're in 3 deep, they're going to run this route. If you're a man-to-man, it turns into this. So they can call one play, and it can look like 5 or 6 different variations. So you've got to figure out, are they running it because of the coverage that they were going against, or is that just a called play? In most cases with them, it's based on what they're seeing.
This is usually a unique week for Fresno State defense. San Jose's OC was a June Jones guy. How much carryover or not is there?
There's a lot in terms of structure of formations. Like I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a bunch of 3x1 opened up formations, 2x2 opened up sets, some empty. They're going to feature some, we thought we'd get a little bit more empty last week from San Jose, but they didn't. But these guys, it's a little bigger part of their package where they'll come out with 5 wides. They don't do it with a tight end or a running back. They got no tight ends, no running backs, 5 receivers in the game. And they've done that, I think, 30 some odd times in the games we've used in our breakdown. So they're going to make you have to match up with skilled players, their best skilled players, and kind of like may the best man win.
Coach, I got one more for you. Maybe this is a good segue to Coach McCann. The week before against Nevada, your defense had to step up in quick change situations and came through. But can you help us understand how much it helped your defense to have his offense sustain drives, be so good on third down, and dominate time of possession?
It's a defensive dream to be able to get to the sideline and get some Gatorade and look at the video and not be rushing to get back on the field. I think our offense did an outstanding job. I thought Mikey was exceptional in the game. And our receivers, I think, when you're up top watching the game, everything kind of looks slower from the press box, but yet our guys do such a good job of just plucking the ball out of the air. There's some passes that are not easy catches that our guys make, and we kind of just take it for granted. But those are really good plays where we see other teams dropping some of those balls. Our guys were on point, and then you mix in the runners. Each guy has his own little style, and yet they're all effective, and we're putting together, a good rushing performance in the game. So, that was great. In the last drive, we were trying to. It was 5 minutes and something left, I think, and we're deciding, okay, who's going in for the last drive on defense, and we were, telling guys on the sideline, hey, you're up. And guys were real jacked up. They wanted to go in. And really, that's a point of a game where, as a defensive coach, you kind of want them to go in because it's their opportunity, but yet you like to see the offense keep rolling first downs. And so it was unfortunate because we were in the locker room after the game, and I was grabbing the guys we had told that they were going in and say, hey, I'm sorry you didn't get the chance. But they were great. They knew that that's all part of it. But it's great when the offense plays like that. Thank you.
All right, Coach. Third down performance. Man, it was really better than the stats said if they hadn't overturned the ball to Mack. What do you think made the difference for your offense being that efficient and dominant?
Well, they provided some interesting challenges on third down because they played so much drop 8 coverage that, you're looking at it on film going like, man, there's not a lot of open windows there. And what I thought our guys did a really good job of, though, we tried to keep our plan simple, and it wasn't like a bunch of new concepts and, drawing stuff up versus it. We said we're going to run, in the pass game, we're going to run our base stuff and let our guys play fast and fit it to the coverages that we were seeing. But I think the main point of emphasis is probably the lack of third and long and third and extra long situations we were in. We were in a lot of third and medium situations, third and short situations that you're always going to be better on third down when you're more efficient on first and second down. Or you should be, I should say, and the percentages that you go from converting 3rd and 2 to 3 versus converting 3rd and 8 to 9, like that is drastically different just across college football. And so that was a kind of a point of emphasis, just making sure we stayed in third and manageable situations, throughout the game.
Going into the year, Coach Tedford said that one thing he thought would make a difference for your team was depth on the offensive line. Can you help us understand how big a lift it was for Daniel to go in and do what he did?
Yeah, that was really cool because he played a lot at right guard throughout the season early, and probably he would probably agree with it. He didn't play his best football at right guard. We sat there and we kept watching him going, he's a better left tackle probably than he is guard. He just plays with more confidence. He's more physical. And, we won several games in 2022 with him playing at tackle. We won, he played, the last time he played tackle in a game was actually the bowl game against New Mexico State. So we just felt like, it was the right move for him to go over there, and he played well, especially, as much as we threw it the other night, he held up really well and did a really nice job. And he's an awesome kid. Like, he's an awesome dude. Like, you're excited for him to get his opportunity and then succeed in it.
And is there a domino effect for the whole offense when you have a healthy Jalen Moss?
Jalen's a special player, and I think that he's got just a little bit of kind of, I guess the right word is kind of swag to him. He's just he plays fast, he's confident, and so I do think there is an effect that kind of carries throughout just because he's just a really good football player, and I think that. We saw him return the punt for a touchdown early in the year, but some of the stuff he's doing in the return game, in the punt return game in particular, that's also uplifting too. I mean, that's, he's had even, he had one or two that's been called back, on what I would, maybe think are, questionable calls, whatever. But, he's had some punt returns called back too that have been significant, so he impacts the team in multiple ways.
On top of Jalen's performance, the wide receiver core, Coach Coyle was complimentary of them, but just the way they've been able to play, especially in this game, was this kind of the blue ribbon game for them so far this season, and the way they performed this?
I'm with those guys every day in meetings and everything, and I think what you see with them is there is a confidence level that just kind of comes with, it's kind of like what I said on the third downs. We have so much offense to choose from, within the playbook. And, I think every year, you figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at, for whatever reason, what fits. And so I think that those guys have a lot of confidence just as far as kind of what they're doing. And, I think they take pride in, being challenged. I think that's I think that's probably my favorite part of our receiver room is, they embrace being challenged. It doesn't matter if it's at practice, if we're having a slow start and I let them know we're having a slow start, and, they respond to challenges, and so, it's funny, we actually, the big challenge that I gave them this last week was we need to be better run after catch guys, like stop trying to make people miss and actually get yards. And Jalen Moss goes and, that first touchdown that he had, it was just a great example of, really, in my opinion, embracing a challenge.
You guys ran 81 plays, a season high. Talk about kind of the benchmarks you set on offense, what the amounts you kind of look for when it comes to a successful run game on your side of the ball.
We feel like if we can hit 50, if we hit 50 rush attempts and completions combined, we're gonna win. Like that's, in the 2 years that I've been the coordinator, we've only lost one time when we've hit that number, and I think we're around 11 times or something like that where we've actually hit that number of 50 plus. So for us, so much of it is just efficiency in the run game and getting completions, because again, I like our receiver room. I think that we got good tight ends, we got backs that can catch it out of the backfield. So we, when we're able to be efficient throwing the ball and effectively running it, but to do that, we got to establish some rhythm and tempo. We got to convert third downs. Like it kind of all plays in, into each other. And again, to be in third and manageable situations, we've got to be able to run the ball efficiently. Whether it's explosive or not, like we'd love to be more explosive in the run game, but we have to be efficient running the ball. And so that's a big part of it. And ultimately the tempo of things, we talk, about, 100 play mentality, like, we're approaching things like, we don't want anything or anybody to slow us down. At the same time, we have our mechanisms to control the clock and be effective in that area.
And then 30 for 41 for Mikey, the high completion percentage, just getting him rolling, just kind of building that momentum, obviously, through the game. Talk about just kind of the evolution in the game on Saturday and how you continue to build into his performance as he continues to build on his confidence the last couple weeks.
The percentage of drop 8 coverages we saw was outrageous. I mean, the fact that he was 73% completions against the number of pass droppers that they had on most of the times that we threw the ball is really a credit to Mikey. And the one interception he had was on a freak thing. It got tipped. It was on a thing that, we snapped it because we thought they jumped off sides. They were far enough back that, I probably agree with the call that it wasn't a false start, or it wasn't an offsides, but it was a freak thing. He shouldn't have had that interception. We were actually going to run the ball if they hadn't jumped. So, it's such a credit to him just as far as just the efficiency piece, given the number of droppers that they had. And, a big part of it was we were kind of determined to not let them just sit on routes early. So, we threw, some double moves early and tried to get them to back off of us a little bit, which I think ultimately helped him, find those completions. And I thought he just did an outstanding job managing that part of things.
Coach Paul and the guys on the radio broadcast were kind of joking around about the black uniforms, maybe making Mikey feel like he was a little faster out there because he seemed to be moving better, at least to the naked eye it did. And I don't know, how much better is he getting at sensing things, stepping up in the pocket, kind of moving around in the pocket?
He did a really nice job stepping up. He did a really, really nice job stepping into the pocket. And the first thing I'll say to that, though, is the offensive line did a really nice job creating a pocket for him to step up into. You know, we talk all the time, the guards are the ones that kind of set the depth of the pocket, the tackles set the width of it. And he did a really nice job, but they created a pocket for him to step up into, and he looked much more comfortable doing that. You know, but again, I give the first credit goes to the offensive line for getting that part of it done. You know, and then, you know, I always joke, you know, I call him Mikey Vick. So, you know, he's more elusive than he is fast. You know, but he has a good feel. He's gotten out of a lot of sacks. You know, but what he's also done a better job this year than he did last year is he's not taking as many sacks when he does scramble. And, you know, for us, we got 3 scramble rules as a quarterback. And, you know, number 1 is you can't throw a pick. Number 2 is you can't take a sack. And he's done a much better job this year of really number 1 and 2 in scramble situations. You know, he's not perfect, but he's been better than he was last year. So that part of his game has improved a lot.
You've talked about loving being on the sideline as an OC, and you're involved in some of those celebrations. Is that going to continue on? Are you ever going to reach a point where maybe you go, wait a minute, I'm getting a little old for this, you know, jump celebration?
Yeah, so, you know, I always worry about my Achilles. You know, like you know, they say once you hit a certain age, that's the first thing to go. So I'm always worried about that. But, you know, I just think that, you know, for me, I have fun with it. When we talk about the sideline energy and we talk about just the enthusiasm just about doing it, you know, I think that's one of the things that, I mean, it's coaches included. You know, I think that's, you know, I think that's part of it. And I get so excited for guys when they have success. Like, to me, like, that's by far, hands down, the best part of coaching is when the guys that you're coaching have success. And so, you know, I just that's the part that I miss being in the box. You know, was just legitimately just the excitement and the energy of guys having success and making plays. You just feel so far removed from it, you know. And so, you know, as long as my Achilles are good, you're gonna see me doing it.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
What was Jalen Moss's reaction to his first receiving touchdown of the season? I saw on Twitter he tweeted, he was pretty excited on Twitter.
What's crazy is I didn't necessarily realize that he hadn't scored a touchdown receiving yet. You know, I guess, you know, just he's always kind of a focal point of the pass game. I really don't get caught up in stats. You know, I don't. You know, I'm highly unaware of the stats outside of the ones that I deem important to winning and losing, or that we deem important to winning and losing. You know, so as far as like individual stats and stuff like that, you know, I really don't pay too much attention to it, you know, from week to week. You know, so obviously, you know, he's got so much energy. He's an exciting player. And, you know, I think that it's just one of those things where he broke the barrier. So hopefully, you know, it's time to get rolling, hopefully. And, you know, but he's a good player, and it was cool to see how that first one happened.
And Mikey Keene, was there something that we didn't see that led to his performance that was maybe one of his best of this season on Saturday?
I'm going to say it just as far as kind of feeding off what I said last week. You know, he's the man in the arena. He's the one going through it. And he's just got a steadfastness and maturity about him that, you know, I think that he really he takes it personal as far as being good at his job. And when he's not, he takes it personal. And when he is, he looks at what did I do well and make sure I do that. Every Monday morning, he's in there leading a film session with the receivers at 9:30 every Monday morning. Voluntary, no coaches in there, every Monday morning. Regardless of how he played on Saturday, they're all in there. And that's a credit really to both groups. You know, they keep showing up regardless of how we played on Saturday. You play well, we don't play well, they're there on Monday morning, you know. And I think that that's just an example of what I think has led Mikey to, you know, having the success that he has had. and just kind of weathering the storms, when he doesn't have success.
And how different is Hawaii's defense and just their team in general from what you faced against San Jose State?
Schematically, they're pretty drastically different. The thing I give them a lot of credit for is they play extremely hard. I mean, you see guys turning and running. I mean, they swarm to the ball. There's always at least a handful of Hawaii defenders around the ball at all times. They're sound schematically. Just as far as they do some things that I don't want to say traditional coverages and stuff like that, but they play very sound with what they do. Versus last week, it was you were either getting 5-man rush or 3-man rush. It was either drop 8 or they were blitzing you. And so Hawaii does a lot of different things, and they mix it up probably a little bit more in that sense. We saw a lot of weird coverages last week, but these guys they do a lot of different things, and it's very sound.
How's it going, Coach?
Good.
Great victory.
Thank you.
Obviously, the game plan for the offense for every game is to put the offense in position to overall succeed, though. But going into the game that week against the Spartans, was there emphasis on your part to want to put Mikey Keene in a position in which to thrive?
Yeah. I hope we're doing that every week, but, what we kind of leaned into a little bit was, we took a step back and we said, okay, what does he truly do best? And then what do we do best on the perimeter? And then how can we help the offensive line out from a protection standpoint? I think, the main point of emphasis, in my opinion, that happened last week was our offensive line protected the quarterback. He got sacked twice. One was just a physical, we just got beat, but the other one was just kind of a schematic thing that, we should have had the numbers for, and they kind of got us. But then we looked at the film on the sideline, and we're like, man, and we made a quick adjustment, and that same pressure didn't hit us again. So, I thought that they protected him well, but that was a point of emphasis. Coach Smith did a really good job last week, really emphasizing the protection element, and so I just think that that helped Mikey thrive. When he's getting hit when he shouldn't. When the ball's already been released and he's still getting hit, that's tough on him. And our offensive line did a great job. And I think that that was the carryover for him as far as putting him in position to be successful.
Oh, definitely. And with that, obviously from your end, from your perspective, do you think that Saturday's festivities with the blackout jerseys, Ron Cox being inducted to the Ring of Honor, do you think all that kind of helped give the offense that enthusiasm, that energy to want to go out there and put on a show?
Coach Skip said it. Ron Cox on Friday night in here was awesome. But you felt the energy all week last week. We always say a good Tuesday practice doesn't mean a good Saturday. A good Saturday is a good Saturday. But you felt that at least the energy every day of the week last week. You felt it. It was. I think what gave the jolt was going and getting beat the way we did last year. I think that gave more of a jolt than anything. I think Ron Cox did a great job Friday night talking to the team, but he also walked into a team that was excited to go play it. And so. I think overall, I think just the overall energy of it was just kind of started with the players in the first place.
Exactly. And from your end, have you ever called the game in front of a sellout crowd? Everyone's into it. The team is energized. Have you ever caught yourself ever saying, "Heck, are we really giving these fans, their money's worth?" Have you ever called a play out of excitement, out of energy to give the fans something to see a show?
Well, I won't say it was because of I won't say it was because of the fans. We did try and get a reverse pass with Raylan the other night. That was called because the players were basically begging for it. That we it was after, I can't remember, I think it was AZ's interception. It was after one of the interceptions, and we've been practicing the same play for a month now. Every Wednesday, every Thursday, And so, I mean, it was one of those things where the amount of times I heard the words Major League in the huddle was like, hey, Major League, Major League. All right, guys, okay, enough. Like, we'll do it, And it didn't work. Raylan did a really nice job actually getting, turning it into at least a 1 yard gain. They covered Nate Acevedo pretty well on it. But, that was probably more out of the excitement of everything. But I really, the players were excited, and when they were that excited, I was like, okay, they're playing so hard, I got to give them that. And so that's really where that one came from.
Coach, usually Hawaii's strength is passing offense. This year it may be run defense. Is there something specific you're seeing from their run defense?
Yeah, I think the first and foremost, they play really, really hard. Just as far as their front, they got several guys that can play on their defensive line. They're physical up front, and then they swarm to the ball. I think that when you look at, I said it already, where you're always seeing 5, 6 Hawaii, defenders around the ball at all times. But I think that's the first and foremost, is that they've got several guys up front that can play, and they play really hard. So I think that probably lends to their rushing defense more than anything. It's just the effort and tenacity that they play with.
It's been 2 years since you've seen him, but is what you're seeing on film maybe different than what you prepped for? They have a new DC this year. Has he changed things quite a bit?
Yeah, it's drastically different. What's crazy about 2 years ago was that when they came into our game, they actually showed up 2 years ago and played something totally different than they had played on film, like totally different. And we hadn't seen it all year on film, and they came out and played us structurally an entirely new defense. This year, with the new defensive coordinator, there's no real carryover from what they were doing 2 years ago. Even before the change in that game, they definitely played us, 2 years ago, like we had Jake Haener and a bunch of NFL receivers and running backs and stuff like that. This year they're playing a lot of different stuff up front and, some different coverages on the back end. So it's drastically different.
I'm also curious, with run and shoot, sometimes it can be hard to play team football. The offense is on and off the field real fast. It just seems like this defense has done pretty well every week, no matter what the offense is doing. You see anything behind that?
Yeah, I didn't realize it just because I don't look too much into the stuff until we play the team. But I didn't realize they're the number 1 scoring defense and number 2 total defense in the Mountain West. And you look at the Boise State game, it's 13-7 to start the fourth quarter. Washington State, it was 21-10 till late in the third quarter. They've done a really nice job defensively as far as just getting stops and not giving up points. And even then, statistically, a few teams have moved the ball, right, but they're still not necessarily scoring at a super high rate. And so I just think they play good team defense. And you're right. You never know how a run and shoot team. San Jose, they were known for scoring in 2-3 plays, and then all of a sudden you're back out there, and so it was cool for us to be able to possess the ball the way we did. But I think that ultimately, to play complementary football against a team like this, you have to find ways to sustain drives. It comes down to, really converting third downs and scoring in the red zone is probably the most important element.